So this week we've got one that's a CD that I know for certain was in my stack that I took off to college with me. And I also know for certain that I bought this CD multiple times because shout out to another legendary shop. It's got a Phonolux sticker on it. little Phonolux live here in Nashville. I must have found this. I don't know what happened to my original family copy. Either I gave it away or it's one of those CDs, the ones you listen to the most are always the ones that go missing or get scratched up or something. But Kevin Welch, Millionaire, and some folks might already realize that since this came out in 2002 on Dead Reckoning Records, Chris Stapleton had a hit on the song. But the whole album is amazing, and I'll just pass it off to you right off the bat. What are your thoughts about this record originally when you heard it?
I love this record. It was an instant love at first sight kind of record. And yeah, thanks to Chris Stapleton, who did for Kevin Welch what the Eagles did for Steve Young and so many others in the singer-songwriter type realm where mainstream artist brings it to the stadium level audience. And so, yeah, thank you, Chris Stapleton.
I will say you definitely called it on that one. I literally remember you handing me this and saying, like, this song is a hit. It's gonna be a hit someday or something like that.
I did. Okay. Well, it was a hit with me, that's for sure. I love the work of Kevin Welch, and this record is just it's really unique in a lot of ways. I mean, we were talking about it before we cranked the on button here, but it's largely a recording with a bunch of Danish roots rockers who bring kind of a new edge to the things that Kevin was already doing, which was superlative in and of themselves. The 1995 record, Down Here on Earth, is a favorite, I think, of both of us. I know I loved it, and I know you listened to it.
Yeah.
And I love Kevin Welch's whole vibe. I mean, the way he writes songs, he's got so many quotable little lyrics. You just want to have bumper stickers or roll them out when you're talking to people or texting people because they're just so amazing. The one off of Down Here on Earth is from a song called Kicking Back in Amsterdam. I'm flying into Amsterdam. I do these things because I can. Kicking back in Amsterdam. I mean,
I forgot about that. That's a great song.
I just love that. I don't know what it is about that lyric. And the same thing with all sorts of lyrics in this one. The one called Witness that we all laugh about. We've got a cat named Midnight around here. We only feed him tuna fish and beer. And one of the other lines in that song is, I got meddling in my knee from the war. I don't go to church much anymore, and it's the thing about this record too, overall, it is to steal from, Joni Mitchell. It's shadows and light. I mean, Millionaire and some of these other songs are so redemptive and inspiring pieces of work. And then some of the other songs are dark, sort of vignettes like Dave Alvin or Tom Waits likes to write, just sort of the film noir of people, or like Steve Bruton has done, both the inspiration and the darkness of what happens after midnight or in the past of somebody, that's moving forward through life. And I think of Kevin Welch in sort of a real loose batch of other sort of related sounding, but equally brilliant writers and sort of songwriters who also have a penchant for rocking. Dave Alvin, Rodney Crowell, those kind of guys. Even you mentioned Wilco, that is so true. There's some really sort of couple little places where the synthesizer blips kind of come out of the mix in a really tasteful way on this record. I don't know, this record just has so much. You can kind of get lost in it. There's so many stories and so much great music. I totally admire Kevin Welch. He's just one of the most amazing journeymen out there in this genre, period.
Yeah. Like I said before, I've discovered this record and then kind of rediscovered it many times and was overjoyed, like we said, when Chris Stapleton recorded that first song, because that is a kind of it's just screaming out to be a radio hit, the first title track. But like you also said, there's moments where it kind of sounds like sort of middle period Wilco, for lack of a better word, like Ghost is Born or like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot a little bit. There's strings on some of this. I know it's not exactly the same, but to me, it has a little bit of overtones of Tom Petty's Wildflowers, and then it kind of has an interesting blend of acoustic and electric instruments, which I think is really hard to pull off on record and make it sound great. And this record just sounds amazing too. That's the other thing I've always been kind of blown away by. And I love the fact that it was partially recorded here in Nashville and partly in Denmark, kind of makes it a cool connection. It's got some great rockers. I mean, I've really listened to the CD end to end. I mean, I like, not unlike yourself, I could recite some of the lyrics. Witness is, like you say, such a cool, moody song that kind of reminds me of the song that we talked about on our Lyle Lovett episode. We talked about Pontiacs, kind of like a war, kind of an edgy, really literary, masterfully written kind of veteran song, which is just really, hallowed ground for a songwriter, or for anyone really. And he does a great job of it. I mean, it's a little ambiguous, but it's just very clear at the same time. I don't know how to put it. His imagery and his lines are great. Doesn't have a lot of action in the song, and also the strings and the mandolin are all beautifully recorded on this record. I mean, it's a gorgeous record to listen to. I also, a running theme on our show. I'm curious if this is on vinyl or not. Again, it's like one of those things. I know it's out there streaming and it's on CD, but it's got a Van Morrison song on it. We were just talking about that. I kind of didn't realize that. And he wrote a song with his son, who's also a great artist who I crossed paths with. It's really a gorgeous record.
Another thing to say about it is to give a shout out and a nod, a tip of the hat to the Dead Reckoning whole thing, which is a record label. And at one time it was an active collective of musicians who were touring and co-writing and interacting together on each other's records. And I had the pleasure and the honor of bringing them to Greenville twice. And it was just a sledgehammer kind of an evening. It was Mike Henderson on guitar, who's just an ungodly musician that lots of folks are aware of. He does everything from honky tonk to run Stevie Ray off the stage kind of stuff. And Kieran Kane, who's just unbelievably brilliant, passionate writer and performer. And Harry Stinson on drums was part of that Dead Reckoning crew. And of course, he's now the fabulous superlative Marty Stewart, drummer and vocalist and spirit of that whole thing, which is just amazing, as we all know. And who else? Tammy Rogers. There were fiddle players, Fats Kaplan. It's just Dead Reckoning was a really, really neat thing. And I loved working with him. And I think it was a brilliant moment in time. And hopefully it's still rolling on as a business behind the scenes, or it should be or could be. There was so much good music came out. They actually did 2 records of all of them together of Dead Reckoning, Night of Reckoning, I think, and then another one. And see those people together. Kevin Welch is just amazing. I saw him once at Mountain Stage when I was being presented as part of, I think it was Bell Share up in Asheville back in the day, and did a show that featured Fairfield 4 and Kevin Welch and some other brilliant people. And that might have been my first live experience with Kevin. He came back through a few times. And Kevin, if you're out there and you travel down Interstate 85 or down from Asheville or something, please hit up Horizon Records. I got the big cup of coffee and a free lunch, man. You bring it on. We love you, brother.
Yeah, definitely a personal family hero. A little bit about Kevin, just kind of beyond this record. He moved to Nashville in 1978 and had already written some hits we kind of discovered for Garth Brooks, Waylon Jennings, Trisha Yearwood apparently had recorded some stuff. And I've actually explored his catalog. He did kind of have some Billboard charts, some songs on the charts, Billboard charts at one point, all of which are kind of worth hearing if you're into this record. But like I've been saying, the stuff that he did around this period is really the best. And maybe just in closing, I want to read this cosmic little thing that he wrote on this record. The cover of the record has a guy picking up a heads up penny. And then it says, this is a collaboration between myself and these friends of mine who live in Copenhagen. And he lists their names, all of which I'm going to pay respects to them by not trying to pronounce their names because they are Danish. And but the musicianship on this record is incredible. Like I said, I mean, I really can't say enough. It's such a great rock record in a lot of ways. It's got that, like everything we were saying, kind of early Wilco, kind of like maybe Neil Young Crazy Horse a tiny bit, kind of just great, not overdone, but just masterfully kind of captured. It says, somehow we've all managed to crisscross the ocean many times, touring some in the States and some in Scandinavia, all of which has led to the making of this record. I've always been very fortunate to have played with such great musicians over the years, and my luck is still holding. I've learned a hell of a lot from these foreigners already, and we've only scratched the surface. Recording technique, use of gear, room design, the stimulant/depressant ratio. There's a lot of new stuff in there for me. I feel like I've been visited by a barn-raising crew of new neighbors with slightly different tools, and that we've built something unlike anything I've ever made before. So here it is. The doors are open. The lights are on. Let the show begin. And there's a little heads up penny right in there. And like you said, shadows and light. It's a really great listen end to end. So yeah, Kevin Welch, Millionaire. Thanks for checking out our weekly web series, Deep Stacks, brought to you by Big X Music, a conversation each week with my dad, 40-plus year veteran of the music industry, founder of Horizon Records and concert promoter, where I sit down and we talk together about the music we're listening to. Please subscribe, leave us a comment down below, and join the conversation.